Well, Cole, the much anticipated, the long awaited, we're back. And you know who else is back?
100T's
100T's.
fans everywhere.
Cole, tonight I'm powered by Rip It. What are you powered by?
I'm powered by Rip It. Matter of fact, I'm powered by a new flavor of Rip It that I've never tried before. It's not a new Rip It flavor, but it's new to me. The only flavor I've never tried. I located it at a store close to my office that I didn't know carried Rip It. So yes, despite having a year's supply of Rip It delivered to my door, I still bought more because that's where we're at right now. So
continuing to support the Rip It brand. Cole, we got a lot to talk about.
Sure do.
And not enough time to do it. But I think if you are interested, would you please join me to Fast Peak last week?
You know, Jordan, I would be thrilled to Fast Peak last week with you today.
Uh-oh. Got to practice that one.
I know. We're so out of practice.
Are we on the clock?
We will get on the clock right now.
Boom. Start it. First things first, Cole. Are you happy with a top 8 finish?
Okay, so there was quite an uproarious exchange in our Discord about this very topic. I have to say, me personally, yes, I'm very happy with the top 8 finish. Let's think about this really quick. It's the first outing for the new iteration of the roster, right?
Yes.
And that roster being together for all of what, like 4 weeks or something?
Not long.
Okay.
Yep.
So there's that. Then what is the goal for like being like a good Valorant team, right?
Yeah.
For me, it's like, okay, if we hang around in the top 4 perennially in our region, like that's what I'm after. We finished top 8. So how can you really be upset with that? You know, yes, would I like to have shown out better against TSM? Sure. But we're going against established teams who've been playing much longer and getting like one match away from that top 4 where I feel like is the target for us. I'm fine with that.
Right. I think you have to look at the context of the situation, right? The stakes are not quite as high as they have been in the past. There's no money on the line. Seeding is important, yes. But I think you have to look at all the factors. So not only is this a new team with some players just announced and being new to playing as a collective 5-person roster, you have people who are kind of new to this game, right? Steel, Nitro, they were more recently CSGO pros than not. And so they're going to continue to get better as well. It's not just the team gelling. It truly is people within the team learning the ins and outs and the nuances of the game. And yeah, they're really good, which is why I think we did as well as we did. But I do expect for there to be upside there. And so for me, first outing, and especially when you look at how we finished the last iteration of this roster, you know, how we left the scene, this is what you needed to have happen. And you talked about what you're looking for in competitive Valorant right now. I think one of the things you have to remain is relevant. And we were hurtling towards irrelevancy with our last roster. So it feels good to be back in the conversation. Even if we didn't give TSM a real scare, that's one of the top teams in NA, and we played with them, which is where we want to be. We got the eyeballs.
Yeah. So can't ask for more. And yeah, you timed that so perfectly, man. I feel like you deserve a gold star like Ryoma.
I got one. Ryoma's got a lot more than me. Let's see if I can catch up. Cole, next up. That was a real close win against the Moon Raccoons. Look, those who've been watching the scene very closely, hint, hint, nudge, nudge, Simo, will recall that this team has been a fun one to watch for some time. So it's not like they just grabbed a couple of random dudes and showed up and almost took us down. They're a team who's been in the scene for a bit, and they've put on some shows. That being said, a close win's a close win. Are you worried about this? Are you spending time thinking about this? Where are you falling on this one?
No, there are 2 reasons why I'm not spending time thinking about it, and I'm not that worried about it. Now, was it like crazy close? Yes. And if we drop that match, then the explanation that was to follow sounds a lot worse than it sounds when you actually win, which was, we found out that was it Dicey and Asuna both were stuck on left-handed player models and couldn't get off of them, which is quite the thing. So Steele tweeted that like after the match finished and he said, I think he started it with, now that we've won, blah, 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 blah. So he understood that. Like if they dropped that match, holy cow, man. Could you imagine that you lost to Moon Raccoons and you're like, oh man, no, we were stuck. There was a glitch, blah, 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 blah. So I'm so
we were
glad
playing
we
on
won
hard mode.
Yeah, right. For many reasons. But also, I draw your attention to TSM Tailored, who tweeted this at the conclusion of that match. He said, Moon Raccoons is probably one of the worst matchups 100T could have asked for in the qualifier. Having scrimmed them a few times, they have a specific playstyle that does not complement 100T, and they're no joke.
There you go.
So, for me, it's like, okay, so you've got us saying, hey, there was a glitch and blah, 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 and it was difficult. Yeah. And then on the other hand, you've got a third party who's like, look, first of all, Moon Raccoons is good. Second of all, it's just a bad matchup against 100T. And we know that from, following traditional sports for a really long time. Some teams just match up poorly against others. Yep. Fortunately, we got the win, so we can now make sure we're prepared for that in the future, like, in the interim. But yeah, it's just I'm not gonna stress about it. If we lost, it would have been like borderline catastrophic, which is kind of weird to say. That since we won it, it's no big deal at all. But that's truly, I think, how it is.
Everything to lose, nothing to gain. That's the time. At least we got to play TSM. it came down to a couple shots. That's what I'll say. But I agree with you on all those points, Cole. I think that's well said. Let's move on to the next one, which is a not close loss against TSM. It's kind of the flip side of the same coin. We showed up and we played against these guys, but we looked outclassed. And I'll just kind of summarize it by saying that I think we clearly have a ways to go. We started fine, right? I think we actually had a map or a round lead there for a second in the first map, which is some promising spots. Here's what jumped out to me: Wardell is very good at this game,
dude. He's insane.
Yeah, and right, okay. I go back to thinking about Steele's comments, curveball, one of these pods. Maybe it was Valorant.
Insert Valorant pun here.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Welcome to the club. He talked about how people aren't playing good Valorant yet. And that's, that was him kind of talking greasy, right? As he entered the scene. I love it. I still support it. I think what we're finding is, while there might not be the mature meta and strats that you see from teams after they've been in a game for 6 months, a year, right? They've got championships under their belt. I'm thinking like 100 Talk COD, for example. Here's what you do see. Some of these players are battle hardened, right? Your Wardells, your 10s, like these guys are nuts. And it's going to be hard for us to catch up with them. So that will be, I think, the first hill for us to climb. If we can do that, I think we'll then be able to unlock some of this meta stuff that Steele's talking about. But there's a gap right now.
Yeah. By the way, nice Josh. He's just on first name basis with him, just Josh. I was just talking to Josh the other day. No,
I wasn't.
One of the takeaways for me, and in fact, the main takeaway for me, and another reason why I'm not so worried, is that what we saw here is that individual skill is only going to take you so far. And guess what? We have a pretty high level of individual skill, which is not something that we can always say for 100 Thieves esports teams, right? Like, these dudes can all play. It's not just one person. Like, if we saw anything, we saw that, like, at different points, different people take over. And that's, I think, going to be the theme of this team, to be honest. Yeah. And so the individual skill gets you to a certain point where you can handle a certain amount of pressure. But a team like TSM is a cohesive whole. They've got, like you said, experience under their belts, plus they know what it is to play as a unit, whereas our guys are just feeling each other out. So glad to know that we have good individual skill. We know that there's always going to be a ceiling on that. So now we just work on the other piece.
Yep. Which will come with time. Last topic, Cole. Boy, does the time fly. We got 2 new guys, Asuna and Dicey. I heard people saying Asuna, like emphasis on all these different syllables. I'm looking for somebody to give me the pronunciation guide on that one.
I'm pretty sure it's Asuna. We'll ask our friend Simo here in a moment.
Yeah, he can give us the definitive version on that. He's been practicing. But new guys, Asuna, Dicey, they showed up. I'm interested for your take, Cole. How did you feel about these guys on our roster?
I'll say it in 6 words. Hot dog. These boys can play. That's what it feels like to me. Look,
Next topic.
Asuna, yeah, right. That's it. No, Asuna especially, right, seems like he's extremely strong. He's one of the more touted Valorant players. He like if you look at where he finished in terms of combat score and ADR throughout the entire tournament, he was probably our standout player. There, it's hard to argue that he would have been MVP, I think, like just because some of the things that Nitro did to keep us alive were pretty crazy. You can at least make arguments, but if you're looking strictly at the basic stats, Asuna was really getting a lot of heavy lifting done for us, which was excellent. And then Dicey too. Like Dicey has moments where he completely is putting three pieces together and everything. Like I love it. I think what we wanted with the new signing were young talent that could have a high skill level and under good leadership be able to blossom into like truly all around good players. And so far, while we didn't we finished top 8, we didn't take over the whole tournament, but I'm led to believe that we're on the right track there.
Yeah. I think for me, the thing that's most exciting about these guys is everything feels raw right now, right? Now, granted, they've had good experience in the scene. They've played on Immortals. They have some deep tournament runs. They've got more experience than the other guys in Valorant, even though they're like half the age as some of them. Not quite, but I'm fudging the math a little bit. But here's what I look forward to. All of the stuff that you learn from being a pro in the competitive scene for 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 years, that is transferable, right? It's clutching, it's not tilting. It's all this stuff. It's the cerebral gameplay. It's thinking about what's our strategy, what's important to us, it's setting up, being prepared, like the work ethic and the experience that these guys have just from doing what they do since Asuna and Dicey were like 10 years old. I think that is what we're going to start to see transfer. The raw skill, the gunplay, the mechanics, you don't need to teach that. The hands are there. So I think that the upside is huge for these guys.
Yeah. All right. We way exceeded our time limit, man.
It's Cole. It's because I didn't start the clock until I finished my prompt. I will never do it again. A lesson is learned. I apologize. We've broken the schedule, but we have some very important items on the agenda here next. And it's the return of Cole, fan favorite section of this show, Neural Theft.
Boom.
The one, the only. Simo, did you do a transition? Is there some kind of
No, there's no specialized transition yet. At some point there will be, like the Molly. Like we'll figure it out. I mean, we're going to grind hard, but right now we're just beaming with enthusiasm because our friend Simo, the best Valorant caster there is back with us. And it's Neural Theft because we got to borrow this guy's brain. So let's take a listen in to what our friend Simo has prepared for us today.
So I want to preface everything by exactly what you had highlighted earlier, or what the both of you had highlighted earlier, is that the stakes for the open qualifier, I think, have to be, put in the conversation of how well teams performed across the board, right? We have a team like the Sentinels as well, which was pretty much outed really early by Gen G. It was a 2-0 victory. But I don't think the Sentinels played to their full form.
Sure.
And I think 100 Thieves, to some certain extent, also did not play to their full form. Once you qualified, it didn't matter what else happened. It doesn't really matter how else you move forward. 100 Thieves was going to give it their all to close things out against Moon Raccoons to qualify for top 16. But after that, if you lose to TSM, you lose to TSM. It's not a big deal.
Yeah.
The main important thing that I want for 100 Thieves fans to understand is the cohesion with this team is very interesting. How it operates, how it functions as a team. You've got Nitro coming in as an in-game leader and famously an in-game leader for Team Liquid CS team prior to that. Not only that, but you've got two veteran players, not only veteran, but two very vocal players in Hiko and Steel that are not afraid to say how they feel. So you've got this in-game leader that is creating the puzzle pieces of the round to round. And then you've got these other storied veterans that are saying, hey, we also want to provide our opinion. You best believe Steel is saying, I want to do this round. Nitro, you better work around that. You better cater to my needs for the round at hand. I've got some examples that we'll look at in a second, but the last two pieces that we have are raw talent to help be molded by the leadership on the team, as you guys have highlighted. But I think it's even more important to highlight that yes, they have experience with Immortals, but this is Dicey's first professional game. He didn't play CS before this. He didn't play anything before this. This is his first dip into a competitive environment with high stakes,
Mm.
right? And for him to come out of the woodwork, he's technically speaking the first Valorant faker to a degree. Why? Because it's the first competitive game that he's touched. I heard a rumbling that there was something prior, but it wasn't to the scale of a CS or like
Yeah,
other shooters, tax shooters. But
sure.
let's have a look at some of the cohesion with the first clip.
Okay, cool. You want me to just run it?
Run it.
All
Roll
right.
the tape.
And especially from this corner that Steel's currently sitting in, he can make this take of the A site very, very awkward. And more importantly, make a chance at a retake much higher by forcing them out of the site. And that's exactly what he's going to be doing. He's waiting for his teammates to get in. Now he forces them off the site. And actually, Asuna has just gone running straight in. They want this round. They've committed a hell of a lot of ultimates to try and make sure they gain some space. I like this though from Cutler. He's trying to destroy it from a distance. Nitro's going to go sneaking through though, and that's a double spray down. It leaves it all on to 2, and in fact, they've just let the spike get it is all done. 100 Thieves get a second round in a row. Even kill Dronov after the round is finished.
So many ultimate.
Okay.
Okay, so I mean, I'm watching it back on the stream as it goes
Yeah.
through. Yeah. So that is a relatively standard play in Valorant. You've got the A site hit, but Steel uses a lockdown to push TSM back, and they've got Nitro playing point on the B site to say, hey, if they're going to rotate or funnel through Link, we're going to stop them. I know that is a relatively standard book play, but there's a lot of teams that don't run that standard book play, and they don't play point defense. And that's actually how Moon Raccoons operates. They send 2 players Link to flank the defense as they're trying to funnel in through yellow, as they're trying to get onto that A site. And so to have just like this simple issue, you've got Steel that puts down the lockdown, then you've got Dicey and Asuna pushing forward with Hiko providing some point defense as well on the A side. They're pushing forward, trying to push them out, trying to get their eco down by taking weapons out of their hand. For a very simple setup, they made it function very well. They had the point defense in the correct spots. They operated it to the exact extent that it needed to be operated on. And not to mention, it was a gun round for TSM, so it was expensive for them to lose that. They did not want to be in that position. Wardell was the last one standing, and he does end up surviving. So a very important round for 100 Thieves, considering they were down by 4 at that point, and they needed to get some early rounds on Haven, considering it's an attacker-sided map.
Right.
For something so simple, the fact that they were able to execute on tells me that this team can communicate properly, given the right resources, given the right circumstances, and can push to that edge. But unfortunately, when you sometimes when you flip the stone, you don't always find what you're looking for underneath, and that's when we got to roll the second clip. And this might hurt some 100 Thieves fans.
Okay. I don't know if you're following along, Simo, but I'll press play right now.
So good right now on this roll, but they need to watch the lurk. Nitro has actually made a lot of space, and whilst it hasn't got all of the frags in the world for TSM,
so they're on the attack with a 4v2 advantage. And of course, the big problem, and I got a lot of flack for this when I casted the open qualifier, giving too much love to Wardell. But the man truly, if he's alive, he's a problem for any team. He's a problem for any team. And Dicey does the correct call. He pushes forward, but guess what? Nitro says, "Oh, he's got it." They're already starting to have that level of faith in Dicey and Asuna, sorry, and all the other players on the team. But that faith, that trust, isn't 100% there yet.
Yeah.
It's maybe at like 90. It's maybe at like 80. That trust is slowly starting to build with the team. Nitro, if he had went with Dicey, of course he wanted to pick up a weapon off the ground. Maybe he wanted like a Phantom, or he wanted to upgrade or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
But if he had went with Dicey, they might have been able to stop Wardell from that cheeky defuse. Yeah, like Cutler's there as well. Like they're trying to, but at the end of the day, like those small minor mistakes is where teams like TSM and Cloud9 and Envy and supposedly Sentinels, they don't get caught up in those little scenarios. There's also another, I'm sure um I'm sure that you've also seen that clip against Moon Raccoons, that unfortunately painful clip where Dicey pushes forward and dies to a blaze wall
Yes.
up
Yeah.
against the Moon Raccoons.
For
That's
maybe
not a
the first time in Valorant Pro history, right?
Yeah, in the first time in Valorant Pro history. So I think, like, despite you guys giving me a lot of credit for being, this big Valorant caster and providing some high level analysis, you guys are right on the money. Is that in that this is a raw team. You've got a lot of leadership talent that have had many leadership positions over the course of CS, their history in CS, and have led teams to great effect, whether it's the Chaos Esports Club for Steel, and for Hiko, Team Liquid, same as Nitro, of course, different times. But like you've got these great leaders, and then you've got this raw talent. It is just taking time to fuse them together, because obviously there might also be nerves from Dicey, might also be nerves from Asuna. He's just joined one of the most prestigious esports teams in the esports space, period, bar none, like without a doubt. And sometimes that pressure is there, right? You also, who knows, we don't know if for Dicey or for Asuna, Nitro or Hiko, we're or even Steel, we're heroes to these people, right? Like there's a lot building. There's a lot of overwhelming stress that could come through in performance anxiety. But you're right, these guys are star players. They are going to perform from 100 Thieves, but we're gonna have to see it at the close qualifier, because I think this isn't all that we've seen from 100 Thieves. The stakes weren't very high for the open qualifier. I know that the loss to TSM was rough, and I think that if 100 Thieves maybe had a couple more weeks to practice, it might have been a little bit more of a competitive match. But the close qualifier, that is what I am personally, as a commentator, dictating to be, it's all or nothing. If you lose, you've lost. There's no more strats being held back. If you've lost, you've lost. The open qualifier, I give you a pass. But this upcoming tournament this week, if 100 Thieves can't make it out to top 8, then we have some problems. We have some issues.
Man, no excuses. No room for excuses. That's what Simo says. I love it.
We don't want excuses. I like that. Let's hold them accountable. I mean, you're right. Like you can point to all the excuses you want as to why you didn't make it. But if you didn't make it, you didn't make it. You're just watching everybody else. So are you able to talk, Simo? Do you have plans to be there? Can you share that? Or do we just need to keep an eye on your socials for that?
No, I'll be casting the close qualifier. There should be some announcement about who else is coming on, but it's not like I'm not, it's not like I've got like signed like an NDA or something like that. It's not a big deal.
I don't know how it works. Let's see. It's a big contract. Well, I hope that you, best caster, get paired up with the best team. It would be fun to watch. Well, see, it starts Wednesday, so everybody keep your channels locked. Look, thank you for taking us through that. I would sit and watch tape with you for hours. Unfortunately, the segment is 10 minutes. So let's move now to our last piece here, which is our incendiary take of the week. Cole.
Molly. Boom. There we go. Let's roll, baby.
Molly. Okay. Here's the take, boys and girls. It's from our own Crisandwich. I'll read it to you. The Thieves' slow playstyle leads to late rushes and causes us to lose against good/decent teams. Played the same comp every time, and as a result, we played the exact same way every game. Play slow and wait for them to either make mistakes or use utility before we made advances. This forces us to scramble and rush in against the clock. Not a terrible way to play for us viewers, because it turns into more of a crazy skill check fighting style. It is always quite thrilling because of both the clock and the chaos of the rush fighting. But when playing against better teams with coordination and good talent, this playstyle is almost always a toss-up, hence why we lost. So Crisandwich is suggesting that this playstyle is part of the reason why we just looked outclassed, outgunned against TSM. It was a little bit too scrappy, and they were a little bit put together. Cole or Simo, anybody have a first?
I'll go first. Yeah, okay, going first is always easier. No, look, here's the thing. So first of all, interesting observation about how we win as the viewers, because it turns into like a skill check, like ego chow match. It's super fun, but it comes with some super big frustration as well. Like we saw multiple rounds where our hesitation to actually do something like literally cost us the round. Like we just did not go and move in. Like, hey, there's a timer on the spike plant that we have to, kind of remember about. And sometimes we just didn't move fast enough and it literally ran out of time, which is not fun as a fan to see that happen. It's kind of like in football when you see people like getting false start penalties out of a timeout or something. It just doesn't feel right. There's just something wrong about the prep. So my other thing, and I'll toss this to Simo. This can be a volley to you, Simo. Do you think should we as fans expect this to be the 100 Thieves play style like semi-permanently, or is this just, hey, this is how we know how to play right now because we've only had that much time?
No, not at all. Like I would love for there to be some deeper analysis for this, but like I just think even still to this moment, there was a lot of talk behind the scenes as well about the Sentinels' performance and that they didn't give it their all because they had qualified. And I think to a certain degree, the open qualifiers was not a true litmus test of what any team is capable of. We talk about 100 Thieves versus Moon Raccoons. Moon Raccoons had everything to prove. They were going to give 100% of their strats away. They were going to go all the way through. Why? Because they had everything to prove, right? If they can take a game off 100 Thieves and TSM, wow, this team is amazing. But if 100 Thieves loses and they've already qualified, in that case, they didn't qualify. They didn't qualify at that point. But if they had lost to TSM, it's not a big deal. Cloud9, my personal favorite team of all time, ran the same comp all the way through grand finals. So are we going to have that same criticism of Cloud9? No, because they're hiding stuff. They're hiding strategic set plays with strategic set agents for the big kahuna, the big 100K. And we're not there yet. We're not there yet. There wasn't any money on the line. And so for 100 Thieves, now listen, this is just a hypothetical. Don't crucify me for this. But
okay, I'm writing it down carefully. Hold on. I'm getting ready to tweet it.
Would I rather drop out of the tournament early and make more money that I'm not even making from this open qualifier streaming, or would I rather have something to prove and go all the way when I could just go all the way later? I could just go all the way later. I'm in the close qualifier. Yeah. I don't have anything to worry about. I'm just going to stream for 2 extra days because I can.
Wow.
I like it. I like that. I do.
Did you say work smarter, not harder, Jordan? Is that what you said?
Yeah.
You summarize it. Work smart. I mean, hey, get paid, right? It's they got the ticket to the ball. They're going.
Yeah.
They'll worry about the details later. I like to think that there are strategic. We're playing some 4D chess here. I like the idea. We'll see. We've all talked about some of the things that look a little rough, need some polishing up, and I guess you think about that. More time to review the tape if you're not playing all the way into grand finals on this one. So, yeah, okay. Look, that's going to do it for us. Simo, thank you so much for joining. As always, it's a pleasure. You bless us with your wisdom and some fun stories as well about some of the stuff that you pick up on as a commentator. So,
and a sick mustache and hairdo, by the way. You're upping the level of style we have on this podcast like instantly. So
thank you.
We appreciate
that.
So we care about those things too, man.
Oh, yes.
Listen, next week, if you're doing another fast peak and 100 Thieves do something crazy, there's going to be a lot more to talk about because I guarantee you it's going to be a different team. It's going to be a different team.
Well,
they want to make it to top 8, so they have to perform. You'll see.
I love this talk, man. I'm so hyped now off of Simo. Yes! Let's go, baby. Let's go.
And I heard, Cole, that they've all made sure they're on right-handed player models, so it's going to be even better.
Even better, yeah.
Jeez. Looking up. All right, that's going to do it for us. Simo, thanks for joining. We'll probably see you next week. We'd love to do it. Hopefully, your casts go well. We'll all be there watching you for sure, and we'll be there to watch the Thieves. Cole, play the outro music.
Do do do.
We don't have outro
Instead,
music.
we'll just say we love you and we miss you already.